What's going on, guys? Your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ, and welcome to the RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. And today I got my defense start and sit for week 2. I got 3 defenses you should be starting, and I got 1 defense you should be fading. So let's get right into the episode. First up, I got the Cleveland Browns, man, going against the Steelers offense. This is going to be a game for the Browns, maybe a layup, because they'll be facing the Steelers O-line, who has the worst O-line in the league right now. As per PFF, their pass blocking grade right now is at 29.2. And Joe Burrow, he was getting attacked by this Browns defense all over the place. They had 10 QB hits and 2 sacks. This new defense under Jim Schwartz is playing on all cylinders, getting every hat to the ball. They only allowed 2.6 yards per play for Joe Burrow and company. This Browns offense also allowed the fewest completion percentage in week 1 against one of the top tier offense of 2022. This Steelers offense also will be without Deontay Johnson, who's dealing with a hamstring injury, so he will be missing some time. So that's a key component on that offense that Kenny Pickett will be without. Kenny Pickett also had his struggles as well on third down to try to keep these drives alive, with only 40% of the completion rate, and the Browns defense only allowed 13.3% of the completion percentage, and that's the fewest in the NFL, people, as of right now. Kenny Pickett's in store for an uphill battle, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns finish as the #1 defense of week 2. So go ahead and lock them in. Next up, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against the Bears, man. This is a matchup where I think it will be a safe play because the Bucs are picking up where they left off last season as a top 10 defense. Now, they'll be facing a run-heavy offense against the Bears, but it looks like they did a pretty good job against the Vikings, only allowing 41 total rush yards. Now, the Bucs were very blitz-happy in week 1. They had 21 blitz plays, which was the most in the NFL, and they had a 45% blitz rate with 14 QB pressures. Now, the Bears struggled to maintain and protect Justin Fields to actually find time to connect with his wide receivers. And you know, his #1 wide receiver, DJ Moore, only had a 5.6 target percentage, and that is crazy to me, man. And they allowed 25 QB pressures versus the Packers, who only blitzed 12 times. The Bucs need to contain and box in Justin Fields from getting loose and making plays to extend the plays and extend drives to run loose on them. Now, they were a team last season who were in the middle of the pack for rush yards allowed versus quarterbacks, so it's not an impossible job for them to get this job done. And they only allowed 1 rushing touchdown to a quarterback last season in 2022. So the Bucs seem like a safe play this week against the Bears. So you can go ahead and lock them in. Like I said, it doesn't seem like an impossible task to try to maintain and contain Justin Fields in the box and in the pocket from him running loose to keep these drives alive and putting points on the board. So I'm locking in the Bucs this week as a safe lock in as a play. And they're also 3% rostership. So they're definitely available to you this week if you're streaming defenses. Next up, I got the Saints defense going against the Panthers, another division game, but this should be light work for these guys. They'll be going up against a Panthers offense who's still trying to figure some things out. The wide receiver core is a little bit banged up right now. Some of them should be returning from injury shortly, but that is still time away from the team in an offense at real life game speed. So I'm not expecting these guys to hit on all cylinders if any of them return back from injury. So Bryce Young going up against this Saints defense is not going to be an easy task at all. The Panthers were tied first with the most QB hits allowed in week 1 with 18 QB pressures. Listen, the Saints had 3 takeaways on defense in week 1, which is where I think most of these points will come from on defense. Getting after the quarterback, creating pressures, and with the limited amount of pass catchers that the Panthers have, this is definitely going to be key for this Saints defense. Hayden Hurst led that team with 41 receiving yards, so that should just let you know everything you need to know. And also worth mentioning, the Saints allowed the fewest fantasy points per game to tight ends in 2022. 3.8 fantasy points per game to tight ends, people. So if they lock up Hayden Hurst, and listen, I'm not banking on Adam Thielen going out there cutting up or Laviska Shenault. If they lock up Hayden Hurst, this should be light work for this Saints defense. So I am locking them in to my starting lineups in week 2. Now, I got one defense that you should be fading at 100%. Do not get cute here. Do not put them in the starting lineup. And it's the Los Angeles Rams versus the 49ers this week. Yeah, they held the Seahawks to 13 points, and Geno Smith only had 9 passing yards in the second half. Yes, this is great, but they're going against a bad blood team. It's going to be a battle in the trenches for sure against the 49ers. This is not an offense I want to go up against and have the Rams in my starting lineups this week. I do not want to get cute. Now we're looking at the 49ers over the time in history against this offense. The 49ers averaged 27 points per game, and they had 7 big plays per game, which is rushes that went over 10 plus yards and completions that went over 20 plus yards. 75% in goal to goal, 66% in the red zone, almost within a division since 2017. So Sean McVay has a battle on his hands. It's not going to be an easy task. This is not going to be a layup. This is going to be a game that I do not want to have the Rams in my starting lineups. So ultimately, the 49ers are going to be making plays all over the place. We all know CMC's there. Deebo Samuel, star-studded wide receiver standout now, Brandon Ayuk, and a near-healthy George Kittle. This is going to be a very difficult task, and I do not want the Rams anywhere near my starting lineups in week 2. Now, this wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. That was my 3 defense you should be starting and 1 defense you should be fading. So make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms at Real Deal Fantasy. Until next time.